it's displaced is how we're going to use it. Misplaced is I can't find my pen. Displaced means you're not where you were. So you've been moved out of where you were. So that's very important. We're talking about displaced people. They used to live here, and now they're forced out. They've got to go somewhere else. And then you talked about environmental problems. So one thing about defining climate refugee, part of the debate is, do we need a separate category for climate refugees, or is it better to have environmental refugees as the reference point? And many are saying the climate refugee problem is so big that we really need to focus on climate change and how it's causing this displacement of people. We have other things that create environmental refugees as well that aren't climate change, but that world is getting smaller and smaller. Climate change is just affecting everything in so many ways. So we're going to go with climate change as the problem. So we're starting the definition with climate change has displaced a certain population. So that's our starting point for climate refugee definition. What else might you add to that? Yes?
I was thinking anyone fleeing a natural disaster.
Okay, so the idea of fleeing, that the notion that you have to leave, that's really built into what it means to be a climate refugee. It's not that your ability to stay where you live is compromised, it's not as nice as it used to be. We're talking about island nations going underwater. You can't stay there unless you've got good snorkeling equipment. So you're not going to have a situation where I could stay, I could go. No, you've got to go. Climate change is causing this displacement. It's causing you to leave where you called home. So you then talked about natural disasters. And so climate change isn't the only cause of natural disasters. We haven't linked climate change to volcanoes yet, but we are certainly linking climate change to hurricanes, and we're linking climate change to a lot of severe weather events in addition to hurricanes. So it's disrupting patterns of precipitation, causing floods and droughts and species migration and so forth. So there's lots of things that could be considered natural disasters that's kind of hard to define, but I think you've added something valuable there as well. What else might we add to the definition? Yeah.
People seeking refuge because of the environmental changes that no longer allow them to live successfully on their own land.
Good. Yeah. So that piece that you've added is something we haven't seen before, and that idea is you've been driven out from where you used to call home, and you can't go back. It's not like you're just taking a break. Your home doesn't exist anymore. So you've been driven out, and you are unable to return to your homeland. So look at that. Teamwork works wonders. I think that's what we've got up here. You didn't say anything about vulnerability, and that's a little bit more sophisticated about this issue, but what we're going to see with climate refugees is that they don't live in Orlando. Climate refugees are vulnerable populations, so we're talking about those who are inhabiting low-lying island nations that are in danger of going underwater from sea level rise. We're talking about vulnerable populations of indigenous peoples in the Arctic who are losing their sense of place and identity because of the melting ice, that they can no longer live the way they used to and where they used to because of the Arctic melting. So vulnerability is key. We are not vulnerable right here on the UCF campus the way these populations are. So vulnerability is a big part of how we define climate refugees. And then this idea of you've been displaced or you're in imminent danger of being displaced, so we talked about that, and you're unable to return. So you've been pushed out of your home or you're about to be pushed out of your home, and when you are pushed out, you can't go back. So we have two different dimensions of this, and this is what makes it a little challenging to go deeper into defining climate refugees. There are instances of internal displacement and transboundary displacement. So by internal, we mean within your nation. So, got a couple of examples of that we're going to talk about. The Kivalina case.